So for some school councils, it becomes a problem. Again, parents are deterred from being involved, and all they talk about. So I'm just going to give you a quick list. Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
So I work in the academy, so I run for our student union, I run the Equity and Accessibility Office. I'm the coordinator there for Dalhousie Student Union. And so my big thing, the reason why I came is, have you guys done any correlations into fundraising differences in schools and accessibility to post-secondary when they get to that point?
No, we haven't.
That's very good to have to bring you back again.
Yeah, because that, I mean, in my perspective, in Nova Scotia, I know last year, my school that I graduated from, the biggest scholarship that came out of our school was, I think, $2,000. The neighboring community, and that would probably be equivalent, the size would be equivalent to a township here in terms of graduating size. And then the next neighboring school, which is probably one of the biggest in Cape Breton, Riverview High School, and their top 5 students took home $250,000.
Wow.
And so, quite the gap. And so, you know, that's, to me, in my mind, that's a gap.
Yeah.
To, you know, it's obvious that school has, you know, people who gave endowment funds, people who willed money to that. And that's another factor, I think, that plays into fundraising is endowments.
Yeah.
You know, some rural communities don't have access to those endowments.
We don't get a lot of that in the schools in Ontario. So
No.
there are some. And again, usually in the very wealthy schools. Right?
And every high school has scholarships and bursaries.
Yeah.
And they all vary greatly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So, what do you talk about at your school council meeting other than fundraising? I already said a few. School improvement plan. Ask the principal what it's about. How can you help? One year we asked the principal, what are you focusing on? And she talked about EQL results, and she said, you know, we're doing great on reading and math. The writing isn't so great. So what we want to do is focus on writing this year in our school. So the school council said, okay, so we're going to focus on helping you do that, right? So we put some of our fundraise money towards bringing in authors and so there's different structures or business people to say, this is how I use writing in my business, right? So that was what we could contribute to that school improvement plan, right? The principal can seek advice when they're choosing between programs. I had a principal, we almost did no fundraising at my high. Once you get to high school, the great thing about high school councils is they do tend to focus on the actual issues because then the kids do all the fundraising. So that's when we get away from it. But we had our principal come to the school council in high school to ask about drug programs. Should it be no means no, or should it be a harm reduction approach? And it was great because it was a half and half, 50% like. So then the poor principal had to make a decision, but he was fabulous about it. They can talk about anti-bullying programs, special visitors, right? I always say to school councils, have a teacher come in and say what they do in grade 2 math. Parents, eat that crap up. We love to know what's going on in our kids' classroom. We want to know. Have somebody talk about it, right? Bring them in to do that. School safety issues, health and physical activity, schoolyard greening programs, community issues. Is there a graffiti problem, right? Invite community agencies in. Sophia's program to come in and talk about the wonderful things that you do. You know, anything that's actually involving the community, that's not about fundraising. Or better yet, ask parents, what do you want to talk about? We're going to talk about that at the next school council meeting, right? Do a survey. But how do you get out of it? How do you get out of the fundraising trap, right? The first thing I suggest, the best thing we did in my elementary school, we had a very diverse community. It was fairly low income, but we were again obsessed with fundraising. So the first thing we did is establish a fundraising committee. Right? So all those keeners who, I only want to do pizza lunches and I want to sell chocolate bars and I want to coordinate that, yay, you are a member of the fundraising committee now. And what happens is the fundraising committee comes back and makes a 5-minute report to the school council. So instead of the entire school council meeting being eaten up by deciding the price of the hot dogs at the fun fair, you can actually say, oh, the fundraising committee has decided the hot dogs will be free because we want to ensure that everyone can have a hot dog. Perfect. Thank you. Decision made. Moving on. Let's talk about the school improvement plan. Right. So establish a fundraising committee. Take all of that work and then they just can come back and report on what their plans are. Yes.
Can I suggest that you build in like the terms of reference for the committee?
I was about to say, yes, you're so good, you're predicting my speech. Have a fundraising policy, right? Establish a policy. How much are we going to fundraise? How are we going to give that money out, right? We had a policy that we wanted to make sure that all the kids benefit, or the largest group. So if we did something for the junior students, we were going to do something for the primary students, or it was going to be something for the whole school. So no, I'm sorry, grade 1 teacher, we are not going to fund your class trip to the zoo because it needs to be broader than that. But if we bring in a play that's appropriate for the senior students, then we'll bring in a puppet show that's appropriate for the primary students to make sure that everybody's benefiting.
So I have a question regarding that. So let's say, you don't do the whole amend your bylaws, which is a whole thing in itself, right? It can't be amended to next year. So let's just say that the group this year decides this is what we're gonna do, and anyway, then next year comes along and it's, you have, a few new people that are interested in being involved, and they say, oh, well, you can't make, last year's school council is not going to make decisions for this year's school council. What do you need to do in order to make, to come to a decision as a group collectively? Do you have to incorporate it in your bylaws in order for it to?
I'm the worst person to ask because I just ignore all those rules. Remember, I used to be a lawyer. I actually think, one of the things you can do is say, great, you run with that because this year it's your turn to make those decisions. They should be based on a year to year. You can have a very general fundraising policy that says, best thing to do, limit the number of fundraisers you do. So because the other thing we hear from parents all the time, I'm being nickeled and dimed to death. Every time I turn around, it's like, I want $1 for this, and $2 for Terry Fox, and $3 for the field trip, and $5 for the pizza lunch. It drives them crazy. It's all they do, right? So say, we are only doing 4 fundraising activities this year, right? So parents know they're prepared. It also means that parents can save money if they want to contribute. It gives them an opportunity to actually take part in it, right? So I'll get you in 1 second. We talked about the types of fundraising activities that are permitted, so you can decide, we're not going to sell chocolate bars anymore, right? And then the next year, with the new school council, they may say, well, you know what, this year, it really didn't work last year, we love selling chocolate bars, so we want to do it. That can be changed. It's a policy. It's not written into your bylaws, so you can make it flexible. But for the most part, I find once you set a policy, and as long as it's a fairly reasonable policy, most school councils are quite happy that they have it in place, and it gives them a guideline, and then they can work from that.
I just want to say, so many of my schools, and back when I was chair in the elementary school, we had one. We had one dance-a-thon that we did, and they was kind of collectively decided upon by the principal and the council. So we had one dance-a-thon, that was it for the year. And we sent a letter out to the parents saying, this is it. We're not doing all kinds of things that we're selling, this, that, and the other thing, as far as asking the parents to sell, which is not to say there might not have been like a little bake sale or something in the school, but like a big, we're asking the parents to help with something. One, it was a dance-a-thon, so it had some physical activity component to it, which was great. Lots of the schools now will do it like on Valentine's Day or on Halloween or something like that. Let the parents know this is it. We're not going to ask you for more money yet. And it was amazing. They went really well, raised a lot of money, and then any kind of extra bus trips, field trips, paying for any those other kind of things were all done with that one fundraising.
Absolutely. And that's another thing you can do is establish a fundraising goal. We want to raise $5,000 this year or $10,000. When you get there, stop. Right? So like, wow, we raised $10,000, let's keep going and get another $5,000 out there, right? No, we've told the parents we're aiming to get $5,000 raised, we've done it, we're going to stop bugging them. Right? We're going to lay off. We're going to spend that money, we're going to enjoy that money, and if all of a sudden, for some reason, we go over our budget, let's do something really fun and free for everyone, right? To make sure, again, that you're reaching out to everyone. The other trick, survey parents to ask how they want to be fundraised to, right? We know that 99.999% of the money that comes in is from parents. I know I bug all the people at work to buy chocolate bars for my, so it's really, or I just buy all the chocolate bars and eat them all. That's usually the way it works for me. That's why I said no more chocolate bar fundraising. But really a lot of that money is coming from parents. Ask them, right? So the best thing we did in my son's grade 7-8 school, hard to engage parents in that little teeny tiny zone because their kids hate them anyway, so they don't want to be there. But we just asked. If we're going to do fundraising, how do you want it done? We sent out a survey. Do you want to do events? Do you want to do activities? Do you want to sell products? Or do you just want to mail them a check? And everybody said, just let me mail the check. So we just sent a form home saying, if you'd like to make a donation to support the activities of the school, here's a form to fill out, send in a check. No obligations. It actually worked really well, and the parents went, thank goodness, I don't have to bug my coworkers to sell chocolate bars again, right? When you're talking about moving toward equity in fundraising activities, start with community building, okay? And it starts at your first school council meeting, making sure the door is open, making sure people feel welcome, right? But instead of doing, and I'm not to be mean about chocolate bar sales, really I'm not, they're okay. It's so much better if you can have an event or an activity so that fundraising is combined with community building, right? Best example I have, movie nights. I always love movie nights because nobody watches the movie. Nobody watches the movie. Every movie night we had, all the kids are running around in front, having a great time, laughing and running around, ignoring the movie. And all the parents are standing in the back, talking to each other. And that to me is the best community event ever, right? Parents, students, all mixing together, all talking to each other. When we started doing it, we said, it's pay what you can, suggested donation of $2. And everybody gave $2, and they came in. Then we stopped making the suggested donation. Then we made twice as much money. There were lots of parents who didn't pay anything. I forgot my mom. Go on in, that's the joy, pay what you can. You don't have to pay anything, in you go, right? But there were also parents who went, hey, wow, I can pay $20, and I'll just throw in $20. So think about what you're doing and how it sounds to other people. Make sure that you're giving parents who may not be able to afford the opportunity to still participate in those things. We also did a big fun fair, right? We always made sure there were free activities. So yes, you can go bid $1 million on the silent auction for that beautiful basket that somebody donated. But you can also go over there where this wonderful tech dad had all this old equipment and a bunch of screwdrivers and had the kids taking stuff apart and putting them back together. Kids loved it and it was free, right? So those people can show up to the event. They don't have to spend a cent and they can still have fun. So try as much as possible when you're doing those activities that there's some aspect of it that's free. And that makes it so much easier for people to participate in. If you do decide to sell something, like chocolate bars, please don't, because then I just eat more. Don't offer individual incentive prizes. Okay? Please don't say the best seller in the school gets a bike. Because guess what? The kids who can't fundraise that much don't get that opportunity.
And they don't.
Or they cause extra pressure on their parents who really can't afford it. But Mom, I really want that bike. Mom, I really want that bike. Can we please sell more chocolate bars, right? It's not fair to the parents. It's not fair to the kids. It is way cooler and way more fun to have school-wide incentive programs. So at our school, again, a low-income school, so what did the principal do? If we reach $2,500 in this fundraising campaign, you get an extended recess, right? There's an incentive for kids. Or, if we raise $10,000, the principal will shave her head, right? Or the teachers will wear funny clothing to school, or something like that. Kids love those kind of things, and it means that nobody's being judged, and nobody's feeling the pressure that they have to fundraise that amount of money. It's giving an opportunity for everybody for everybody to participate. I see a million questions, and that's actually, I've said almost everything I want to say, so I'm going to open it up to discussion. I'm going to go with Candace.